looking at the recent evidence, you'd have to say Alfa Romeo's wilderness years might be over. The Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio was genuinely one of the best small sports saloons of all time. I really mean that, of all time. It's fantastic. In 2018, Alfa Romeo returns to Formula One. This is really significant stuff for an iconic company that for a long time has just been in the doldrums. And so we approach this car, the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, full of optimism and hope, don't we? However, let me just temper that a little bit. Let me just remind you that it was only a couple of years ago that Alfa built the 4C, the less than brilliant 4C. So let's approach this car, the Stelvio Quadrifoglio, with a balance between caution and optimism. Alfa makes some big claims for this car. They say it's the world's fastest production SUV. So they're talking 176 miles an hour flat out, 0 to 62 in 3.8 seconds. That's massively quick for an SUV. And around the ring, it's done a 7-minute 52. So we know it's fast, but what I want to know is, can this, an SUV, actually be fun to drive? And I don't just mean quick and a bit grippy around the corners. I mean, can it be really fun and exciting to drive? Helpfully, we are right next to what might well be one of the best roads in the world. We're in the United Arab Emirates. We're a couple of hours outside of Dubai. This is the Jebel Jais Highway. It looks like an alpine road, doesn't it? It's almost the Arabian Stelvio. Anyway, let's have a think about the Stelvio Quadrifoglio. It follows a year or so after the Giulia Quadrifoglio was launched, and it uses the same engine and gearbox as that car. So it's a 2.9 litre twin turbo V6, just over 500 horsepower, 443 pound-foot of torque, and an 8-speed automatic gearbox. Loads of power, it's responsive, it revs out really well, all the way to just under 7,000 RPM. So it's got proper energy at the top end. There, it just keeps pulling. The 8-speed automatic gearbox, it doesn't have the intensity of a DSG, but I just don't think you miss it. Yeah, really, really cool drivetrain this. We've got a good soundtrack, and we've got tons of performance. It's a heavy car, but it's really, really quick. And of course, with four-wheel drive, you've got loads of traction as well. So how does that four-wheel drive system work? So they say it's 100% rear-wheel drive until those wheels start to slip, in which case it can send up to 50% of the drive forwards. So how does it feel? If you put your foot down mid-corner or coming out of a corner, you can just feel it rotating slightly. You can feel the rear end wanting to come around ever so slightly, but then very quickly it drags itself straight again. So you can make it do very tiny little baby drifts, but it won't slide like a Giulia Quadrifoglio, which is rear-wheel drive, of course. But what it does mean, this four-wheel drive system, is that you've got loads of traction. So you just stand on the throttle as soon as you're past the apex and ping, off you go up the next straight towards the next corner. Much like the Giulia Quadrifoglio, in the rear differential there are a couple of clutch packs, and that means this car's got active torque vectoring across the rear axle, so it can send drive exactly where it's needed to make this thing handle and behave like a much more nimble, more athletic kind of car. And there's more as well. If you lift up the bonnet, you can have a look now. The engine is way back in the chassis. That helps the weight distribution, stops it being really nose heavy. It may be a tool high-riding car, but they've really worked hard to overcome those fundamental issues. Yeah, as far as high-performance SUV drivetrains go, this is pretty faultless, I have to say. This DNA dial here gives us lots of different drive modes. So A is effectively the eco mode, N is normal, D is dynamic, and then we've got race mode as well. And within race mode, I can switch back to the softer damper setting. That, in the Giulia, is a brilliant, brilliant feature. It means you can use race mode on a bumpy road and it works beautifully. As it happens, this road is beautifully smooth. It's so smooth, you want to lick it. So I'm going to leave the dampers in the firm mode, and that's where you get the most body control. Steering It's really direct, so it's a ratio of 12 to 1. And that for an SUV is really, really quick. It feels a lot like the Giulia, which also had super sharp, very direct steering. It actually makes it feel like a much lower car, like a hot hatch or a saloon or something. And it's super precise. You can place the car exactly where you want it. Again, as far as SUV steering goes, you can't really fault it. Really nice weight. Just slides a tiny bit, but not properly. We can forgive it that, I think. Front end. We're on Pirelli P0 tyres here. They're not super grippy tyres at all. And we've got good turning grip. It's a sharp front end, but ultimately the car's balance is understeer. That's what it does. When it runs out of grip, the front end will just wash wide. It just means that on a road like this, corner after corner, you place it right on the limit of front end grip and just drive through every corner in gentle understeer. The front tyre is just washing slightly. That might sound frustrating, but actually it's not. It just means that you feel all the time, every corner, like you're getting everything out of the car. And that's really satisfying. That's really good fun. I'm super impressed actually at how well controlled and how precise the car feels, how sharp it feels. Given its weight, given the height of it, it really should be rolling around like a whale, but it's not. It's really, really sharp for this sort of car. What else gets this close? Porsche Macan GTS, Macan Turbo, maybe. For the most part, these cast iron brakes have held up really well today, but we've had a quick blast from top to bottom, and I can start to smell them now, and I can start to feel the pedal going a little bit longer. We're losing a little bit of braking performance. That's to be expected, really, isn't it? It's a bloody fast car, it's heavy, and this is a quick road with lots of big braking zones, so inevitably they're going to get hot. They haven't mentioned a price yet. Apparently there won't be a price for this car until July 2018, so I'm going to have to record two pieces to camera now. And at £50,000, I think this car represents really good value for money. But at £100,000, I just think this car's too expensive. This car's cabin is sort of passable, really. It's unremarkable. I think if you stepped out of a Porsche Macan and got into one of these, you'd think it was just a little bit low rent. The same was true of the Giulia. It's not a big problem though, and I've got these panels of carbon fibre, red stitching, so it looks pretty cool. And have a look at the back of these Sparco sport seats. Carbon shell seats in an SUV. That's a statement of intent. The seating position is really good. Okay, it's high because we're in a high riding car, but I actually feel like I'm sat quite low in the body. Steering wheel's right where I want it. Good view out. It's a really good seating position, this. So this test will be a little bit inconclusive because they've clearly had to clamp this car down with chunky anti-roll bars, and I haven't been able today to work out whether or not that's ruined the ride quality. It might well be that when you get on a really wavy, lumpy, bumpy, tricky British B road, the ride quality's all over the place. We'll have to wait until we get one in the UK to say for sure. That is my only real reservation. Otherwise, I think this car is fantastic to drive for an SUV. Yes, I would take the saloon. I also think the saloon looks a lot better than this thing. But if a really quick, really entertaining SUV is what you're looking for, this is the one. This is the one. Welcome back, Alfa Romeo.